Welcome back to the Superhero Battle Room. We have Jennifer T. Thomas in the back. She goes over and she's a woman who currently serves her country. You're going to have to guess on the branch. We don't give it until the end. So if she goes totally incognito with her words, you're going to have to guess. So in the live or the replay. And now she empowers people through PR. So I'm going to bring her forward and she's going to share her inspiring story from a better place than where I'm at because I'm in a virtual space. Hey, Jennifer, do I have you?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So we're going to mostly focus on your better space because mine's a virtual space because the message is about you. So first we talk about what inspired you to serve, to join the military.
I joined the military when I was 18 years old, and I was inspired to do so to actually pay for college. I learned quickly that my parents were not able to fund my college experience. And I remember my grandfather sitting me down and he said, I think you're going to have to join the military. And I was in complete shock initially. Our next door neighbor was my recruiter. And he sat me down and gave me the different options. And I said, okay, I can do this. And that was a way for me to fuel my college fund and be able to come out of college debt free.
Man, I wish I joined with that type of novice thing. I joined because of a girl, so I didn't even join for the right reasons at all. So, and that must have been a sticker shock for you going over and like, hey, I'm going through school and everything else. Like, nah, we're kind of broke. If you want to go to college, this is the route you got to go. So, did you get that college degree before we go into the next question?
Yes, I actually graduated from Bowling Green State University with a Bachelor of Science in Journalism, a minor in theater, and then continued to study abroad in Spain because I still had my GI Bill and my tuition assistance available. And I did a year of my master's as well.
All right. So you are an education guru in a sense, man. And you probably all did it in a few short years. Almost all the ladies I met, they came in the service, they got E1, E2, E3. By the time they got the E4, E5, I already have a master's degree. And I'm like, I basically have a GED and I'm an E5. So big difference in that particular regard. The ladies always whooped me. I could not multitask. I was a monotasker. If I went to school, that was my life. If I went to work, that was my life. I could not multitask. So I give you kudos of getting those degrees so quickly and also saving tons of money.
Thank you. It was definitely a challenge at times, though, as again, an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old having to leave school occasionally to be able to do my military service and to give up that time for during the summers and other opportunities that I did. So it was definitely a challenge sometimes to balance my having to be an adult while being a college student as well.
Yeah, well, I guess I never became an adult because I went to 13 colleges and I have enough credits for a master's, but never binded it. So maybe one day. All right, let's get back into your story. When did you leave the military and how long were you in?
I was in for roughly 8 years, and I actually got out around 1994, I believe. So I've been out for quite a while.
That is quite a while. Wow, that's many moons ago. So how was the transition in 1994? Because that was like when there was money around, there was Clinton around, the economy was okay. We didn't go to any WW wars or anything else. It was kind of that in-between time.
It was an interesting process because it also was before the technology allows today to do something like what we're doing today. It also was before you could just email a resume over. So I really had to rely on my military experience and preparation to launch me into the civilian world because I went literally straight from the military into corporate America. And I actually leveraged a lot of my relationships that I found when I was in DC, in Washington, DC then. And so I had a colonel who helped guide me through the process. I had a couple other military people that I networked with and was able to really use their connections to help find my footing and my jobs.
That is really cool. My footing was I got out the door, I went over and moved and tried to start a business and it went downhill. So that is really cool. So you were set up right in the go. Like you went in, you got your degrees, you had your network connections. So you were strategic, high level. You were like, I'm red to where my dream's at. I think that's a couple maybe superhero tactics we'll talk about later. But what made you serve your current community? Because we see in the background it seems to talk about PR, and it seems very influential PR from at least where I looked up you up because I saw your stuff before you came on. So what made you pivot to serve your current community?
I actually, believe it or not, am in the same career field that I was when I was in the military. So I loved what I did in the military, and I figured out a way to translate that into the civilian world. And working inside of PR, I've been able to leverage a lot of my military contacts. I've had military clients, including the United States Army. I actually had the Air Force Association. So I had other military connections that I was able to thrive inside of my public relations experience because I was in public affairs in the military. And I think that for me, when I was able to see the good I could do and help further a brand message from a company or an association, that is what I love doing. And still to this day, almost 30 years later, I'm still in public affairs / now public relations, taking my clients' messages to the community and helping make a difference with their products, their executives, their panels, getting them onto speaking engagements, podcasts, and helping really share their messages.
So you do all the things I love and I don't want to do. Get me out there in the face and everything else. Just a quick one. What's the difference between public affairs and public relations for our audience? Because we'll think of military and public affairs, but what's the difference?
Honestly, with public affairs, I think it involved a lot more of community relations as part of the military. And I think it's just one of the military names. But I did a lot of open houses, the big base family events, in addition to a lot of crisis communications, especially during Desert Storm, Desert Shield era. Also, what was happening on some of our assets on the base, I can say. So with public relations, it's more about the constituents and trying to influence, I think, their perceptions and try to build their brand awareness. So they're not totally different. It's just a lot more consumer facing for what I do specifically. I do have some B2B brands, some business to business, but most of mine, I'm taking a product and getting it into a magazine or on TV, or getting one of my clients who might be a wellness doctor, getting him interviewed, for a story. So it's not very different, but I would say public affairs is just much more, it's not corporate communications because it's military, right? But it's hard to describe, I think, the difference because the nuances are so similar, but it's not as flashy as public relations when I'm dealing with events and I'm dealing with the Oscars and the Emmys and celebrity endorsements. So it's a little different, I think, that way. It just has a lot more fun to it than what public affairs did, which was much more rigid.
Man, it makes me want to hang out with you and just go over and hang out for you for a couple days to go get all that exposure. I mean, we would love, love, love exposure. So yes, I'm self-promoting at the same time, but in that particular regard. So
Yeah.
the job's got to be really complicated, though. I mean, no matter if it's public affairs or public relations and whatnot, and there is pressure in tough times. It doesn't matter what job it is. You could be a janitor or you could be the public relations. So you said to the U.S. Army, the Air Force Association, things of that nature. What is your secret fuel when that pressure and tough times come?
For me, it is really remaining calm and having a plan. And I think that stems a lot from my training in the military, especially when I was taught, crisis communications from the very beginning because of public affairs. Although I started, believe it or not, in supply chain management, I will say that, but luckily didn't stay in that very, very long. It was not my favorite. But because of what I was studying in college, the recruiter was able to immediately translate me right over to another career field. But I think that having a plan and really kind of stepping back from yourself and saying, okay, what is this really happening in front of me? What are the 2 or 3 ways that I can fix it or solve it? I think a lot of people come up against a brick wall and that's all they can see. And I use this analogy with my team all the time at an agency I was with in DC. And I said, that brick wall is an illusion. It might only be 3 feet tall and you can walk right over top of it. Or it might be a wall that you can't even see where it ends, but the bricks are loose. and you can easily just pick it away and remove 2 or 3 bricks that you can then walk in the middle of the wall. Or guess what? It might be 5 inches wide and you can just walk around the wall. So I think that perspective is key in any of these tough times, that you have to really kind of center yourself and just really look at what's happening and look at the solutions. And then also, I'm one that thinks of a lot of what ifs, even in my personal life. So I'm always having a contingency plan. And I think that is key from my military training, is contingency planning.
I love how you use the wall reference. I thought of so many jokes I could go through right now, but basically, no matter how big no hall or how long the wall is, no matter where it's at, there's always a way to either get through it or under it or over it. So,
That's
man,
right.
there's so many puns for another joke another time. I was just in my head on that one. But that's a beautiful thing to realize, is that no matter what the trial is, there's always either you go through it or you go over it or you go under it, or maybe you just bring something bigger to borrow through it in that
Yeah.
particular regard. Sometimes in some references, I think of biblical reference, sometimes we walk around the walls of Jericho and then literally wait for a higher being or a higher authority to take that wall down. Because sometimes we have that in the military and in the civilian world. Because sometimes we might not have those skills and capabilities, but they do, or they have the resources. So that was a really cool analogy. I love that. I'm just thinking now, I can be like, hey, that's almost any problem we can solve. So no matter what it is, it's like, let's go solve it. So our last question we asked everybody is 3 superhero tactics, either thinking of your past military career or thinking of clients that you go help out, or maybe even your team. What would you give them as 3 superhero tactics to take them from a survival mindset? They're looking at the wall and they're like, ah, man. And that's like probably a few of the words I would say, to going over and like, yeah, we can get over it.
I think, especially for veterans, when you are getting ready to make the transition into your next phase of life, for me, the very first thing, the most important thing, are relationships. And that is everything my job is around: relationships with reporters, relationships with podcast hosts, relationship with producers, relationships with online editors, relationships with my own editors, because I'm also a freelance writer, relationships with my clients, relationships with trade show organizers, relationships with celebrity gift bag organizers. So relationships are key. And you always want to think about how you can expand your network of people that you may know. And obviously LinkedIn, I know the military pushes that now a lot for your transition. And that is a fabulous way to connect with people. But also, whatever field you're going into, whether it be a trade association. So for myself, Cosmetic Executive Women is a key one for me, because there are like-minded people in there. There's competitors in there, but there's also potential clients. There are other resources, vendors that I can refer and help my clients out with a problem they might be having. So relationships is key, and you don't want to underestimate those. And I think even before someone separates from the service, you want to make sure that you kind of do your research and find out where you can connect. It might be your local chamber of commerce. It might be a Rotary Club. It might be a BNI network. And then again, for me, because I work on the national media level, it's the trade associations that are vital for me. And then for my own trade, I also belong to like Public Relations Society of America and Counselors Academy, which help me stay centered with other like-minded public relations people, and then Independent Practitioner Alliance. So I'm also always talking to other people and still learning. And I think that goes to the second tactic. I don't know if you have any questions on the first one, Daniel.
Nope, I'm still good. I was going to get there
Okay.
when you got to the 3. So you can go for the next
Okay.
2.
Okay. Education is important even as you get out. And I think you never want to stop learning. And whether it be reading a new book, a nonfiction book once a month on something that's happening, with the way that technology is changing today, I think it's so important for you to stay on top of whether it be how AI is generating the actual technology use for speed, for content development, and for risk management, for payment solutions, whatever the business might be. That is key. So you want to stay involved, again, with trade associations, your own reading, your own networking opportunities, to make sure that you're able to continue your own education. You might also want to continue to take a class. I know during COVID, there were universities that were offering free classes. So just to continue to keep your brain moving, I think, and developing is important. So that would be my second tip for anyone that is making a transition, but also for something that I do for myself. And I'm always learning new things, especially with cosmetic chemists, because I'm in the beauty and wellness industry. Every time I get done speaking to one of my clients who's a cosmetic chemist, I feel like I just had a chemistry lesson. And so I'm always learning about the newest ingredients and the newest treatments. And that helps make me smarter and more valuable for my own clients. So that would be the second, I think, tactic, superhero tactic that I would recommend. And the third one for me is get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I have to give my husband credit for that one. But it is so true, especially for myself. I'm a sole proprietor. I've had my own business for over 20 years. And I can get very comfortable doing the same types of work, the same way I've done pitching to the media. And I have to be uncomfortable getting out there to try to get new clients or to develop a new skill or to be able to offer a new service for my clients. And I think I try to convey that to my clients as well, especially the first time that they're answering an interview question and they don't even know what to say, even though they spent 2 years developing this skincare serum. Now, if you ask them to talk about it to a media person, they might kind of freeze up. So they're very uncomfortable. So I have to work with them and do some media training, prep them, give them some sample questions ahead of time. Those type of things that you can do for yourself will help you become more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that's the third one, I think, in life. And it's being open to change and trying different things.
I think those are great things to go over and talk about in that particular regard. I love the network connections. I wish I connected more before I got out the first time of active duty. And then especially for the education piece, it's like always learning, always growing and everything else, because that is key. It even opens doors. Like someone says you have a degree and then they trust you more. I'm like, I knew the same information, but I have the paper now. Now you trust me. So sometimes you have to do that. And I like the whole being comfortable and being uncomfortable. I was a little uncomfortable when your door opened and closed, so I was hoping that you were okay.
That was my
Yeah.
dog. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally 100%. I just wanted to make sure that you were comfortable in your safety. I'm like, I didn't want to be like, yeah. So love
Yes.
live episodes, don't we? As long as you are
The,
okay and it's your dog. So
the puppy is just panting away behind me right now. So she
hey,
just got back from her walk.
yeah, because I know people are going to watch the episode. They're going to get to that point. They're like, the door's open. I mean, it might go viral now because the door was open and you were talking.
Magic. Yeah. You couldn't see what was happening. Yes. And it
No,
magically closed. Yes.
it did. It magically closed. I was thinking when you said your husband, maybe he's the one that closed it, like from the bottom of this thing. I
I
thought
don't know how he did it.
that was amazing. So thank you, husband, if you did that. That was amazing. All right, so let's get back and to finish out this episode about what is beauty results, and also to give you the floor one last time to either give a call to action or a quote that you'd like to close us out. So the floor is yours.
So, Beauty Results PR is a division of FSR Ventures, which is my main company I formed over 20 years ago in 2002. And Beauty Results PR, I specialize in health, wellness, and beauty brands and wellness authors, holistic doctors, anyone that's kind of in that wellness space. So I have a lot of skincare, cosmetic, I've had fashion lines, anything that kind of falls into that kind of realm in those industries. And I spend, I would say, 75% of my time just pitching products, getting them covered in the national media, whether it be here's your top 5 vitamin C serums to holiday gift guides, which is right now a big part of my day, and pitching these brands to get covered in top gifts for her, top gifts for him, top gifts under $50. So I spend a lot of my time just on product pitching. I also spend a lot of my time on expert sourcing. And expert sourcing is where I take an author or a cosmetic chemist, a dermatologist, esthetician, whoever my client contact, the expert is, and pitching them to be able to talk about their topics, their platform. So whether it be on podcasts, whether it be guest articles that they might submit to an outlet, getting them quoted inside of a actual outlet. So just tonight before this interview, I did 2 Southern Living interviews for a professional organizer client of mine. I also have an internal medicine gastro doctor, and I was pitching him, and he was featured in Pop Sugar, Brayton Company, and Women's World, and several other outlets, patient.com, and several others in just the last week. Daily Mail was a big one, and I know that's a huge outlet. But then I also have like a celebrity hairstylist client. So he's always being quoted on hair colors, trends, tips for bangs, different things like that. And he's part of a bigger hair care company with products. I also do a lot of celebrity gifting. So I'm working on Oscar and Emmys and different events that are happening right now, coming up with this songwriter convention in Nashville and also in LA. So it's exciting. Every day is different. So I love what I do. I also do some freelance writing myself. So I used to be almost a full-time travel writer on the side, alongside my PR business. And then I've most recently been writing for a skincare magazine on different topics, specifically in the PR and marketing realm, and also social media side. And I guess the call to action would be to go to my website, go to beautyresults.com. Sorry, did I say that? I did say it incorrectly. beautyresultspr.com, and check it out. And if there's anyone that is looking for a publicist or a PR firm to help them, whether you be an author or a brand, you're starting a new company, let me know. I'd be happy to give you a complimentary strategy call to help navigate you through the first steps of being able to make a presence inside of the national media space. I think for me, also a favorite quote would be, if you can dream it, you can do it. And that's by Walt Disney. I am based in Florida, so I think a lot of my quotes are coming from the Mouse Man, from Walt Disney himself. And I think that's important. You have to make sure that you have to be able to have a vision to make something happen. And I think that's something I strive every day to help my clients' visions, their dreams, become a reality. And I try to do that for myself as well. And I want to thank you so much for having me today.